So today we're going to be doing calabacitas. This can be made as a side dish or as a main dish, which is how I'm making it today. You can make it all vegetarian or you can use meat. So I'm going to be showing you how to make calabacitas into an entire meal in just 20 to 25 minutes. Now let's get started. Now let's talk about your vegetables. You need one zucchini, and if you can get a small one, get a small one. We're only going to use about half of this one. Also, you need an ear of sweet corn, and we're only going to be using half of this. And then you need a small tomato. These actually came out of my garden, so that I've got several little tiny tomatoes, but a small tomato will work from your farmer's market. Now first you're going to take your corn, you cut off both ends, and you clean the silks off as best you can. It won't be perfect, that's okay. If you've never worked with corn, fresh corn on the cob, it won't be perfect, that's okay. Silks are edible and they won't hurt you. So you're going to take it, you're going to put it in some plastic wrap, like this, and you're going to put it into your microwave for about 3 minutes. We are just par cooking it, okay? So about 3 minutes in your microwave. And now we're going to chop the rest of our vegetables. Now I'm going to put the corn in the same bowl as the tomatoes because we'll be adding them to our mixture at the same time. Now you're going to start with 8 ounces of ground beef, but you can use any sort of ground meat mixture in this. You can use pork, you can use chicken, you can use turkey, whatever makes you happy. If you want to go all vegetarian, you'll skip this part. But we're going to use ground meat. And by the way, you can also use leftover rotisserie chicken. You just won't have to cook it like this. But we're going to use beef for this. To your ground beef, you're going to add your onion. And the total amount of onion that you saw me cut up is about a half a cup. You may like a little more, a little less, but about a half a cup works really well. Now as this cooks, you're going to add our house seasoning blend. This is half a teaspoon of onion powder, half a teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon garlic powder, and a 1/4 teaspoon black pepper. Now once your ground meat is done, or mostly done, you don't want it to be overcooked, you're going to take that off the heat and place it into a container. And then put your skillet back on the heat. Your skillet will still be hot. Your skillet will still be hot. Now add to your skillet a tablespoon of butter and a tablespoon of olive oil. Since your skillet's hot, it should melt pretty quickly. Once it melts, you add your zucchini. Now we add this first because it's going to take the longest to cook. Sometimes when you cook vegetables with your meat, it will make the meat steam instead of brown. And that's not as good as a result. So, now to the vegetables, we are going to add another amount of our house seasoning. So we're going to be adding a 1/4 teaspoon salt, a 1/4 teaspoon onion powder, 1/8 of a teaspoon garlic powder, and 1/8 of a teaspoon pepper. And don't skip the oil and butter, you'll regret it. The butter really gives it good flavor. The oil allows these spices to bloom and taste better. So you really do need that. So don't skip it, it's not very much. And you'll also notice I did not drain the hamburger meat. This is an 80-20 hamburger meat. And again, we're still going to use the juice from that hamburger meat when we put it back in here. So don't drain your meat. And because we cut these 1/2 inch or smaller when we cut them, they'll actually brown up pretty quickly. So it doesn't take very long at all. I test them with a fork to see how soft they're getting. Some of these larger pieces may take a few more minutes. You want them to soften up just a little bit. You don't want them to be so soft that they're mush. That's a mistake. You just want them to soften a little bit because you're still going to cook them with the hamburger meat for a few minutes. Now once these have slightly softened, you're going to add your tomatoes and your corn. Now your corn is par cooked, so it will need a few minutes to cook as well. Gonna mix that up in there. Now since this is Calabacitas, you will also want to add 1½ tablespoons of chili. Now I like things spicy. If you don't like spicy things, just leave this part out. Or you can add just a few. But I like to add 1½ tablespoons of green chili. Now once these cook for a few minutes, you're going to add back in your beef and onions. And add back all the juices too. Now you can see when you add the hamburger, this actually makes quite a bit. So this may go for 1 or 2 meals easily for you, or if you're cooking for 2, this is a great meal for 2 people. And it only takes 1 skillet, which is fast cleanup, and who doesn't love that? And you're going to let everything simmer together for just a few minutes. You serve it up nice and hot. Lots of your vegetables. And then you take shredded cheese, any kind you like. This happens to be cheddar, but if you want to use the Mexican cheese or any kind of cheese you have, that will work. But this is cheddar. And you put roughly about 1/4 cup onto your Calabacitas. And there you have your Calabacitas for 1, a complete meal in only 20 to 25 minutes.